To breaking news now.
Some breaking news.
The comedian unleashed a sexist tirade.
Can I say I feel extremely sick?
It is disgusting.
The outburst brought an Olympic hero to tears.
It is revolting.
It's just disgusting.
Just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right.
The shock, the horror, the tears. No, this isn't some world event we're talking about, some crazy election result, or a local tragedy. No, a comedian said a joke, and the woke media didn't like it.
As a radio host and comedian, Marty Sheargold thinks he's fun, but no one is laughing now.
Australia likes to think of itself as a country full of larrikins. We like to think we still have that Aussie larrikin wild crocodile Dundee attitude.
Mate, all I had was me jocks on. I was chasing him up the street and I'm just like, mate.
Where everything's up for a laugh and we shouldn't take ourselves too seriously.
Pleased to meet you.
It's okay, he's Australian.
Well, no, we ain't like that anymore, like the rest of this civilised world. Taking offence is one of the greatest ways to get attention, and maybe even a job promotion, especially if you work for the Australian media. Christ, if you pretend you're offended enough, you can even distract people from what's really going on.
Or literally a white privileged person.
A perfect example of this is the national outrage that has just taken place in the once great Oz, because a comedian had the audacity to share that he doesn't care to watch a certain women's sport. Imagine that. Oh yes, people have lost their minds. They've been air quoting all over the place.
Humour or funny, sense of humour.
You got to use these because we don't mean it.
In case you don't know this, but in Australia, sporting stars, especially ex-sporting stars, see themselves as the most important people in all of Australia. They expect everyone to be interested in everything they do, as well as fund their life of play. Ask any Australian professional sporting person, they are more than happy to complain about the sacrifices they have made to have a life of kicking a ball or running from A to B. And the taxpayer money they receive for doing their chosen sport is never enough.
These women are underpaid, they're underrepresented, they're undervalued. We deserve better. We need more recognition.
For example, the Australian women's soccer team is each paid on average between $200,000 and $400,000 a year, with the captain Sam Kerr taking home a whopping $3.3 million in 2023 alone.
These women are underpaid.
Underpaid could be a bit of a stretch. This is the national team that was beaten by a local boys team of under 15-year-olds. And it doesn't end when they get too old to play with their friends. Retired sports people are handsomely rewarded with jobs in Australian media. Jobs handed out like retirement gifts.
She now works at Triple M.
Can I say I feel extremely sick?
Yes, that is the sad state of Australian entertainment. So what did this Australian comedian say that was so offensive that he lost his radio gig, and even our Prime Minister chimed in?
And disrespecting more than half the population that's not on.
He said, wait for it, he said he wasn't interested in watching a women's soccer tournament.
The Asian Cup. I'd rather hammer a nail through the head of my watch that.
How dare he? Why would he say such a thing? Maybe it had something to do with that they're playing terribly, and we hear more about the teams infighting than we see them winning games.
The Matildas have suffered their worst ever defeat to Japan in a humbling start to the She Believes Cup.
But still, you may ask, isn't he allowed to have an opinion? Well, he, Marty Sheargold, was doing what his job required, which was him trying to give his opinion in a comedic fashion on his Triple M radio show.
Comedian unleashed a sexist tirade about the Matildas and women's sport. It's just disgusting.
Now, everyone has their own taste. I wouldn't go as far to say that I'd prefer to drive a nail through the head of my member, but I wouldn't listen to Triple M if you paid me. Most commercial radio in Australia is bloody dreadful, but some people love commercial radio. People loved Marty's show, including the station management, who love to put up on YouTube his weekly highlights.
I cannot believe it.
Perfect way to
It's
start the week.
absolutely perfect. It's a wonderful start to the week.
If you're taking orders off a redhead, something's gone wrong in your life.
Yeah, Japanese airline.
Yeah, A&A.
Yeah.
Emirates at 4th. There's usually a silent L after that. And then thought he was a Japanese schoolgirl.
Oh.
I think we've all done that.
No.
Certainly tiptoed around in a tartan skirt that was way too short.
Ate her rooster called Boy George.
But Boy George, I mean, that's a fun name for a cock. And Karen ate it like there was no tomorrow.
This was the first video I came across from a year ago, and he gets in a queer voice, a redhead joke, an anal joke, and a Boy George cock joke. I tell you, this guy should be making YouTube videos. And these were all celebrated as the highlights of the week, because that's what he was paid for. Where is all the outrage from the people with red hair? And the Marty Sheargold show isn't alone in Australia. Our highest paid radio hosts secretly recorded their fellow station workers going to the toilet so they could play it live on air.
I got another terrible poo story
story.
I'm starting to worry about you.
Oh, it was horrible, Jackie.
I'm saying Mayo's the hottest on the team.
Wow.
So put her at the hot. And then second,
You're
I'm
so
going...
easily pleased is what I've noticed. Bend over to take my pants off. I bend down in like that stripper thing.
So yeah, Australian commercial radio is a classy affair. But Marty Sin was having a go at sports people, female sports people.
He's talking about the Matildas.
Because I'm outraged and I'm not even an athlete.
The outburst brought an Olympic hero to tears.
And the media, they're all in for jumping on a good cancellation story.
Remember, get him alive if you can, but get him!
That's why they kept talking about how everyone was outraged, when the only people outraged were the media.
Australian athletes and the wider community have slammed the remarks.
That's why most of them have had to turn off the comments on their anti-Marty videos, because of the mostly positive support for Marty. The outraged sports stars and media personalities have never heard the Ricky Gervais saying that just because you are offended doesn't mean you are correct.
Just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right.
Some of the biggest tears, and yes, we were talking literal tears here, has come about because he compared the women's team to Year 10 girls. If a man's team was compared to kids for childish behaviour, no one would have bat an eyelid.
You know what they remind me of? Year 10 girls.
You know what they remind me of? Year 10 girls. Making the inference to all the infighting and all the friendship issues.
Yeah, and I think the analysis of that, it's important to have a critical eye run over the Matildas and how they're performing and how they're behaving. But that comment is particularly derogatory.
And I tell you, nothing helps your argument more than reacting like teenage girls to a man making a joke.
Kate, I mean, it's hard to know where to begin, right? We heard Liesl Jones break down in tears following those disgraceful, careless words from her Triple M colleague.
Can I say I feel extremely sick? I was like, I'm not going to cry, I'm not going to cry.
Yes, one of our ex-Olympians, trying to prove that she should be taken seriously, literally became the meme.
I am so sorry that anyone who heard those comments, if there were little boys or girls in the car, please know that you are welcome to play sport. Sorry, I'm upset.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
But Boy George, I mean, that's a fun name for a cock.
If there were little boys or girls in the car.
But we're not allowed to even call it a joke, because apparently it isn't one.
Blatant misogyny. And that is absolutely what it is. Don't cover it with comedy.
Oh, and the comedy line is an absolute cop-out, and comedians right across the country and the world should be ashamed by that as an attempted defence at all this.
I would have thought a man talking about driving a nail through his knob might be considered an attempt at humour. But no, not to these people.
We don't want to be the people who are saying, oh, you can't take a joke, stop it, that's not acceptable.
The Sunrise team, the Simple Jack show of Australian morning television, has been going to town on this story.
Yeah, just disgusting.
Hosts Matt Shirvington, an ex-Australian Olympian, who is better known for his junk swinging around than he is for his running.
He's the one with the hungry pants in the Navy.
And Natalie Barr, who decided to go with the "a loved one just got murdered" face for a story about a man not wanting to watch a sporting event. Look at that face. The utter sadness and devastation. This is insanity. Highly paid commercial television insanity.
Yeah, just disgusting.
And Matt, like every man, is absolutely disgusted by this joke.
We were watching some slow-mo footage the other day of one of your races, and wow, we've got to say, Matt.
Let's see that slow-mo again.
Which is quite the departure from his former public persona that was based solely around the bulge in his pants.
What's that down there?
About this long?
Your pardon? Really?
Up the back, wasn't
I was up the back. Look, I like it up the back occasionally.
You rough it every now
I
and then.
rough it every now and then.
Yeah, just disgusting.
The soapboxing and arrogance coming from these paid talking heads has been fascinating. Take Georgie Tunney, the Channel 10 celebrity, who was also outraged.
I'm so sick and tired of this kind of language. I'm so sick and tired of this vitriol. I'm so sick and tired of this sense of humour. There will be people out there who laughed along with what he was saying. And to them, I just say, get a new sense of humour.
Now that Georgie's placed herself as an expert on entertainment and humour, why doesn't she tell us what she does for fun?
Me happy is, you know, watching British crime shows, eating Doritos out of the bag and just knitting. Great time. Fun time. Can recommend it for everyone.
Yes, the woman telling us to get a new sense of humour has some real entertainment highlights, which include interviewing her own boyfriend, an Australian Idol contestant.
Robert Mills is an all-rounder.
And doing a segment on her learning how to ride a bike.
But what happens when you're 32 and you've never learned to ride a bike?
I shit you not. This is regarded as entertainment on Australian primetime television.
I mean, she's kind of better than I thought. It's just there we go. That's what we want to see.
We only have 3 commercial channels, and this is what's on at 6:30 at night. Watch out, Netflix.
I can now ride a bike.
Nobody cares.
I wonder if Georgie, the self-imposed arbiter of humour, has ever come across as being a bit rude while trying to make a joke herself.
Did you know that you've recently been voted Australia's hottest rodent boyfriend?
No, I did not know that, no.
That was a bit bitchy, Georgie. I also love watching sports people and supposed journalists trying to use terms they don't really understand to sound intelligent, like gaslighting, which is used to describe someone who manipulates someone else into questioning their own perception of reality.
It is gaslighting to women everywhere, and we have had enough.
No, Marty wasn't doing that. Sharing an opinion you don't like has nothing to do with gaslighting.
Comedy has been used to put down women, to buoy up misogyny for millennia.
A millennia. Men have been laughing at women's sports for 1,000 years. Well, it's about time women got better at sport then. Did you watch the women's football? Good one. What about critical thinking?
Oh God, the Asian Cup. I'd rather hammer a nail through the head of my penis than watch that.
Yeah, this is where it gets pretty ugly. And it's not just misogynistic, it's completely tone deaf. It lacks any critical thinking.
Critical thinking is the process of analysing all the available facts. How does that apply to someone's opinion on what they find enjoyable to watch?
It lacks any critical thinking.
Yes, well, after considering all the facts, I do want to watch our national women's team, who were beaten 3-0 to a local boys under 15 team. Yes, that really happened to our national women's soccer team.
We've been fighting for generations to be seen as equals in sport.
Let's try the meaning of martyr.
Do you think there's a danger this turns him into a martyr for something?
Georgie has absolutely no idea what this question means or how it applies in this situation.
I don't think so. I think that there's...
Making Marty a martyr would mean that he would come out looking like the one that was hard done by, a victim of the overzealous woke media. And if you read any of the comments related to this story, this is very much what has happened. The public in general are very much on Marty's side.
Bigger things at play here, whether that be how happy Marty was on the show anyway and everything surrounding that. I'm not sure where he is personally. I don't think it does make him a martyr, no.
But that concept is beyond the professional journalist Georgie. Under the pressure of the woke narrative going off the rails, she just decides to mumble something about whether Marty was happy with his job. Nothing to do with him becoming a martyr.
Olympic Games in Paris 2024, we won 18 gold medals. 13 of them were won by women. 13 of them were won by women. Let me just say that again. It is a huge proportion of Australia's global sporting success that comes off the back of women.
Marty did apologise, which meant nothing to these people. Why would an apology matter when you can get someone fired from their job? And apparently, he only apologised because he was found out.
Is that sincere enough? To my mind, no, it's not. He's apologising because he was found out.
Found out, eh? He said it on a public radio show that is syndicated around the country.
This is a comment that was made on Monday on his radio segment and was put to social media the day after.
Found out would mean it was said behind closed doors and someone leaked it. Not said on a public radio show, you idiot. What the hell happened to journalism? Simple terms like found out are used for some type of dramatic effect, even if it doesn't make any sense.
And the fact that it caught a bit of traction and people have now got a hold of it, that's why the apology has been issued.
So what is the real reason for all this outrage? Well, Marty's timing couldn't have been worse. Australian soccer needed a distraction from the recent court case involving our soccer captain, Sam Kerr. Sam Kerr was charged in the UK for racially aggravated harassment for calling a policeman stupid and white, along with some other names that YouTube doesn't like, one starting with C.
You should have spoken to the...
You guys are stupid and white. Honestly, you guys are stupid and white.
Okay.
That was after her and her partner, after a night of drinking, threw up in a taxi and smashed the taxi window after the driver took them to a police station when they refused to pay for the clean-up. Besides throwing the dreaded white word around, Sam Kerr also showed the police officer her bank balance. She is, after all, a multi-millionaire thanks to soccer, and explained how she would get the best lawyers. Well, the Australian media had a very different take on this case that only concluded a couple of weeks ago.
I think as captain and as a sports person in our country, you're always held to a particularly high standard. People will be pleased to see the back of it and no more than Sam Kerr and her partner. It's completely tone deaf. It lacks any critical thinking.
I think she will remain a role model, and I think one of the things now is we understand people are people. We don't always behave in the best possible way.
I cannot believe it.
Yeah, we've all had a drunken night out, and a policeman taking someone to court for using the word white is ridiculous.
I'm looking you in the eyes.
Why are you
I'm looking you in the eyes. Like
So...
stupid.
The police should have more balls. But, and it's a big but, which is worse? A drunken night out where you are throwing up and smashing car windows while putting down Whitey?
I'm not paying some dodgy window, the court heard.
Or joking about not wanting to watch the Women's Asian Cup.
I'd rather hammer a nail through the head of my penis than watch that.
Sam Kerr on her taxpayer millions is meant to be representing Australia. Marty Sheargold was trying to be humorous while sharing an opinion on his own show. If only he hadn't done it on virtually the same week as Sam Kerr's court case came to an end, and the embarrassed Soccer Australia needed a distraction from their racist Australian captain.
Sam Kerr has been found not guilty of racially aggravated harassment.
Marty might still have his job like Sam Kerr, who still has her high-paying role of Australian captain.
But now there's so much outrage and we hear about it and it's taken seriously, you know. There's Oxbridge comedians writing for the posh papers, thinking the rules of comedy. They're laying down the law.
Jokes, no matter how much you don't like them, are still jokes. At most, they may require an apology, though it'll do no good. Not the cancelling of a career.
Mr. Sheargold also works for Channel 10, the ABC. What's the likelihood he'll be dropped from the other programs?
Absolutely gorgeous in real life. Fuck. I keep...
Well, I hope all you TV clowns are proud of yourselves. No one for a second believes you were that outraged. But we all know what you have to say to, you know, keep your jobs.
A lot of people fired up and it's just... just disgusting.
Boy George, I mean, that's a fun name for a cock. And Karen ate it like there was no tomorrow.